Hello, makers. I am Jen, head of marketing for Making, and we are here at Sacred Sheep in Portland, Oregon, interviewing some vendors and other people who are connected to this amazing show. And of course, great. Hi.
His real name's Casanova.
Oh my gosh.
Call him Larry.
Larry, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for you want to be interviewed. Tell me how you're feeling. How are you doing today? Great. Why are you excited to be here at Sacred Sheep? Oh, do you want to get into? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You're just so important, and we're so glad that you're here. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say to the people watching and or listening? Very insightful. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm Fiona of FionaKayKnits. I'm a yarn dyer out of Portland, Oregon. My pronouns are she, her, and I am just happy to be here.
Awesome. We're so glad that you're here too. Okay. So where did your maker journey begin?
Oh my gosh. So my mom taught me how to knit when I was 12.
Nice.
I was a terrible student. I'm just going to say that now. I made my lumpy garter stitch scarf with holes in it and made her fix all my mistakes. And I was 12, so I was too sassy.
I mean, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but like, I feel like everybody's first knit is like a thing. It's like a scarf thing or it's a hat thing because it's not quite exactly where you would want it.
Exactly. It's a badge of honor to knit the holy lumpy thing.
Yes, it's true.
And you got to get it out of your system.
I know.
It's really
now,
important.
do you still have it?
My dad still has it. He
love it.
wore it until fairly recently.
Dad,
It's
good
also
job.
made from acrylic yarn from Fred Meyer that was falling apart.
Fair.
So, but yeah,
Well, we work with what we have, you know?
he
I love it.
he got an upgrade finally for Christmas.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah. But I love that he continued to wear it.
He did. Even as I was like making more complicated things and he never asked. He just wore it on his walks.
Dad, that's wonderful. I love that. How did knitting the first scarf thing translate into your business today?
Oh my God.
I know that that's a long time
That's
frame.
a long
but
time. From my lumpy scarf, I took a little break.
Okay.
And I picked it up again in college when I was really homesick. I missed my home. I missed going to the local yarn stores with my mom.
Yeah.
Like, even though I wasn't a great knitter, like I just felt so much community there.
Yeah.
And so I started picking it up again just to have something to do with my hands and like feeling comfort. And then I got a job at a yarn store and just my whole life has been yarn since then.
It was missing home and mom.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was
great.
missing something familiar.
Let's talk about what you do.
Yeah.
You have colorway names like knitting is punk and knitting is hardcore. Now I can guess where you get your inspiration, but let's hear more.
I've been a musical person my whole life. Like I love music. I love all genres. And I really just grew up kind of with that like punk DIY lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's what crafting is to me, is like crafting is super punk. Like you
Yeah.
go out here, you make something that speaks to you. You make something with your heart. So that's a lot of where my colorways come from, is like listening to music in my studio and hearing the color, if that makes any sense.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I feel an energy when I listen to music, and I really put that into my work.
That's so cool. You offer an anti-fat tax discount.
Yes.
Which we love to see it. Thank you for offering it. That's wonderful. What would you say to other businesses, large and small, about considering an anti-fat tax discount?
Yeah.
Word, I forgot a word.
Word. It's so much about just respecting everyone. You know, like it's an inclusive process, and like people have different bodies, and that is great. Like that shouldn't be something that we shy away from. I when I saw people were doing anti-fat tax discounts, I was so moved because like I'm a plus size person, and the only way that I could afford to knit sweaters was working at a yarn shop and having an employee discount or dyeing my own.
It's a lot.
There is no way that I could pay full price for a sweater quantity of something. Like but everybody deserves to make something beautiful for their body that fits and feels good.
Yeah.
And even though like putting a discount on something might feel a little scary for a small business, I know it felt scary for me. It brought so many more people to me that I don't think would have found me otherwise. And it opened my community and included so many more beautiful people.
I love that.
And that's what it's about.
It's so beautiful. That was going to be the question that I was going to ask if you didn't address it, is like, I know as small businesses, like offering any sort of discount is hard because you work really hard to do it. But I think it is showing where your own values are at.
Exactly.
And then the people will come that feel connected to that as well.
Yeah. I've really found like through my branding and my social media and the anti-fat tax discount, like my people find me.
Yeah.
And that is the best feeling in the world.
It's awesome.
And I just can't even describe it.
Love it. Awesome. Okay. We have Vanessa here, and just personally, I'm very excited about this because I've been following you for a while, and I feel like we keep missing each other in life to meet each other, and we do have a lot in common from what I know.
Yes.
So this is fun for me. So even
Same.
if good, well, that's good. What if you were like, well, it's not for me?
Awkward.
Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
So I'm Vanessa of ōSHən and currently ōSHən Fibers as well. I'm a new yarn dyer too. But I live in Astoria, Oregon. So pretty much local to Portland in this show, which is really special and fun. I'm a marine biologist, hence the ōSHən. I did spell ōSHən differently because, I gotta be different.
Gotta be fancy.
But you can't tell because I'm wearing all black today, apart from my beanie. But I absolutely adore colors. I think it stems from, my love of the ocean. If anybody has ever been diving, especially in tropical waters, it's a colorful mixture, rainbow.
That was going to be one of my questions because you did roll in today in all black, except for your hat. But your colorways are all very bright.
Yes, and I just discovered that because who likes to knit with black yarn, right? No one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do, that's great. But I just discovered I can knit with beautiful, colorful yarn and then just dye it black, which I know might be kind of taboo.
But I love it.
But I get the experience of knitting with a colorful yarn and then being able to wear it because I don't wear my knits because they're so colorful.
Yeah.
So once I discovered that, I'm like, wait, I'm a yarn dyer. I can dye all of this black. So now I can wear it. I did knit a pair of black pants, my Made For You knit pants.
Yes.
And that was like, it was torture. And I'm knitting another pair in brown, and that's also torture. But next pair are going to be super colorful. And
I love it. So have you tried the knitting light? The light that comes around your neck?
I already had one before. I'm not a big fan of it. I think because I knit so much on fishing boats, I'm just used to kind of being in the dark.
I do want to talk more about knitting on boats and being a marine biologist and what all of that looks like.
I don't swim with dolphins.
Okay.
It's not as glamorous. Yeah, I was a fisheries biologist for 6 years. I worked on fishing boats along the California, Oregon, Washington coast. And, I was an independent biologist collecting data for sustainable fisheries. And in 2020, I got promoted and I now train. I'm also the first female water safety trainer. Well, for our program. There's some for
No, that's
Seattle.
great.
And so I train and manage and support fishery observers, which I really love. I spent 6 years on boats, and I think that's where I really blossomed as a knitter. I've been knitting since I was really little. My grandma and my mom both knit. It's passed down generations. Never really took it seriously. I made scarves and hats and stuff like that, but it was when I had a lot of downtime on the boats. And also knitting so much and realizing that I needed to alter a lot of these designs for my body kind of, created this need of me designing knitwear.
Let's say you do have time to knit.
Yeah.
You have no distractions.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever you want, but it's like the perfect setup for a good long day of knitting.
Snow husbands,
What is
snow
your-
dogs. Not in
We
my
won't-
house because I'll get distracted by cleaning.
Where is your like perfect go-to if you could just be in the most perfect spot?
Honestly, I kind of miss my days on the fishing boats.
I
Because,
love
like,
that.
I would just spend hours and hours, especially I used to work on the Sea Storm. It was a huge ship that goes up to Alaska. Super cushy. We've got 2 heads. That's a bathroom and
Yes.
boat world.
For those that
Great cook. And I actually didn't ever have to put on rain gear and go out. Even the guys barely put on their rain gear. It was a lot of downtime, very clean fishing. And, you know, my longest trip with them was like 55 days. And when I tell you I knit, I made like 7 sweaters in 55 days.
Holy
And it wasn't just chunky sweaters. I had like petite knit because at the time I was just starting into knitwear design back then. But yeah, I mean, it's really peaceful. Fishermen are usually pretty quiet. They're okay with just sitting there in silence, which I love. So I just sit up in the wheelhouse and just knit for hours, which was
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Joanna. I am the creative and owner of Stitching the High Notes, which is a YouTube channel as well as an online shop. On YouTube, I share weekly vlogs where I share what I'm currently making, whether it be knitting, sewing, crochet, cross-stitch, woodwork, whatever my creative focus is that week. And then I also share what I'm making for my small business, where I make project bags and create tools and notions for makers like you. And my hope with every vlog, and I'm starting to do travel vlogs and come to Wolf festivals as well, is to encourage and inspire people to embrace their own innate creativity, which doesn't come easy for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And I believe the best and the easiest way to do that is to make sure you seek out and find joy in your everyday life, or you can stitch the high notes, which is partly where the name came from. As well as I used to be an opera singer, so that's where that came from as well. So
That was going to be a question, but I also figured that it might be answered right out of the gate. That's awesome. Where have you performed? Tell us more about that real quick.
yeah, so I am now retired at the ripe age of 43, but not really retired. I sang professionally for almost 20 years. I sang with the San Francisco Opera off and on, mainly with the chorus, a few solo roles there, and as well as at the San Francisco Symphony for many years as a professional member of their chorus. And then gigging, you know, and doing all of that around there. And but I loved it, but I'm a morning person. So the 14, 17-hour days sometimes during the holidays were really getting to me. And I was always working a 9 to 5. I worked in the arts nonprofit field for many years as a fundraiser up until just recently, actually. So I was ready to make a shift. And luckily knitting came into the scene about 7 or 8 years ago.
Let's talk about your journey as a maker. So about 7 or 8 years ago, you picked up knitting, but was making and crafting like always in your life through your family and such?
Always, yeah.
Awesome.
My grandmother and my mother were seamstresses. They had their own businesses at certain points in their life. My first love, and kind of still is to some extent, is cross-stitch. So I started out with that, and then I picked up knitting really hardcore in about 2015 because I was doing a lot of those holiday shows, and I was sitting around in between rehearsals, and I wanted to get off my phone. So I learned knitting, and I fell in love. And I fell in love with the community because that's when it started to really become a thing on the internet and online. And I thought I'd dip my toe into the YouTube world because I love filmmaking. I love storytelling through art, whatever the medium is.
Yeah, we feel that too, for sure. So who taught you how to knit?
YouTube.
Perfect.
Very Pink Knits. I think I did some creative bug lessons as well. And then I had some friends who would fill in the blanks in person, go to local yarn shops well. But I'm such a visual learner. I'm very lucky that YouTube at that time was around that I could kind of learn from there.
Yeah. What was the first thing that you ever knit?
I'm a go big or go home kind of gal. So
Love it. Yeah,
it was a lace work scarf. that I think
Nice.
I made through one of those Creative Bug or something akin to that courses.
Tell us what you're working on and like what your future plans are and like the North Star goals.
Oh man, well, put it out there, manifest it, as
It's
they say.
true. We do a lot of manifesting
I
at
love it.
making.
The big dream, I think, is to continue to have an online shop and have a brick and mortar, but really like a community space, a maker space, if you will, but it incorporates all creativity. So I'd love it to have
Yeah.
a stage and have piano recitals there, for teachers to be there. We can have couches and have Zoom meetings, because I have a lovely international audience and crew so that they can be involved as well. And then continue to sell. I love making bags. I love curating fabrics and stuff like that, but I want to make them even more special and higher quality as I continue to hone my skills as a sewist as well. So that's where I'm working towards, and
Awesome.
and also incorporating more of my business side too, because I
Yeah.
worked as a associate director in fundraising for so many years, and in the creative field. So I feel like I've already helped out a lot of my friends who have creative businesses. So kind of opening that branch as well. So
Awesome.
typical
That's-
entrepreneur.
Yeah, just a few things, That's and we are at Sacred Sheep, and this amazing human walked in, and I was like, I know you.
Thanks for coming over.
Do you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Chinua Matthews. I'm the designer behind Chin 2 Together on Instagram. I'm wearing currently my mother-in-law mudcloth sweater, MUDCLOTH, just in case you haven't heard of it. It's based on traditional West African textiles that are painted with fermented mud to make the designs, which is why it's called mudcloth. So
Amazing.
I
Okay.
wanted to take the tradition and like transform it into knitwear.
That's amazing. So where did your making journey begin?
It started in 4th grade. I went to this kind of private school that was a little weird. They
Yeah.
were like, you can take your English class or you can go learn how to knit. So I went and learned how to knit.
Yeah. It's a
And
clear choice. Yes.
Seriously. My first project was a 4-stitch garter bookmark made with chopsticks. And ever since then, I've never put down the needles or chopsticks.
So do you still have your first project?
No. I do have my first cable swatch that I ever done. It was my first time going to like a knitting store for a lesson, and I do have that.
Cool. How did that translate into designing for you?
So I came out as bisexual when I was 23, and that's when I first started like diving into the knitting community, because I wasn't worried about people saying that I was like gay or feminine for knitting. I met this coworker at my job who was knitting. She saw my bag from Verb, and she was like, "Oh, you knit too?" And then ever since then, I just started diving into the knitting world head first and started my Instagram. And so starting designing not long after, because I wasn't finding enough patterns that I liked for myself. I was like, you know what, why don't I just put them out there? I have a skill, I can learn how to do it. And so, yeah, that was pretty much it.
What was your very first pattern?
My very first pattern was called the Sloop Beanie. It's a little bit of a long knit. It's a hat, but it's a fisherman's beanie. So it's kind of small.
Yeah.
It sits on your head, but yeah,
Nice.
It was really good.
I like it. Cool. What is like your next thing that you're doing?
Yes, I am Emily O'Brien from Kitty with a Cupcake.
Where did your maker journey begin?
Oh, I don't know, the womb? I guess. I've pretty much always been like creative, want to make things with my hands kind of person. Like when I was little, I'd like be cutting up little felt bits and like making little felt dolls and stuff. So pretty much
Perfect.
forever.
What is your like go-to, like I'm going to sit down and chill craft?
Knitting for
Knitting,
sure.
yeah. Okay.
I have been knitting since I was 12, so I can
Nice.
totally just muscle memory, like
Yeah.
vanilla knitting. I can walk around. I can knit in the dark in the movie theater. So that is like,
That's a skill.
yeah.
You need to get together with Botanical Yarns. She also likes to go to the theater.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah.
just like makes me more relaxed because like my hands are occupied,
Yeah.
so that like whatever back part of my brain that would be having anxiety is occupied then.
Yeah. You have your knitting. You have like a good like half to full day just to knit. Nothing else.
Ooh.
What is your ideal setup for that? Like where are you at? Are you listening, watching anything? Are you drinking, eating anything, whatever?
Okay. I have an L-shaped couch, and I like to be in the corner of the L. That's the ideal spot.
So far, so good.
Yes, with a blanket and maybe some cats on top of the blanket. And then my ideal project and my ideal show are like a pairing situation. So if I'm watching something interesting that I have never seen before, that I need to like look at the TV.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
It's going to be like that vanilla, like a sock or like a garter stitch, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I like want to get into like an interesting pattern that I have to like read or like count or, you know, look at stuff, then probably Gilmore Girls is on.
Perfect. How many times have you watched Gilmore Girls all the way through?
An embarrassing amount. It's in the
never
double digits
embarrassing.
for
If
sure.
it's something that makes you happy, that's not embarrassing.
Thank you.
I love all of this. I am very similar to that. But are your cats though? Are they interested in your yarn?
I have them trained pretty good so that
Heck yeah.
they know that they get kicked off the lap if they
If you mess
are
with
messing
this,
with
you
it.
can't snuggle. What is your most favorite thing that you've ever made for yourself personally?
I really love my just like mitered garter stitch scrappy blanket because it has a square from like every project that I made for like 9 years in it. So
That's
it's like
beautiful.
memories. It's so nice. It's also really cute because it's the Coziest Memories pattern by Kemper, who is my booth mate. And we were not
Yes.
friends when I made that. I literally didn't know them personally. So it's kind of special for that reason too. So,
Oh my God, this is wonderful. Now, what is your most favorite thing that you've ever made professionally?
Probably my witchy pocket pin set. It's a little enamel pin set where the big pin is a like Polly Pocket compact, but it's like a little witch house. There's a little cauldron and like drying herbs in there. And then there's a teeny tiny mini pin that is a little Polly Pocket witch. So, and I like to draw that so much that it's a whole series now. There's a ghosty pocket and a mermaid pocket and a fairy pocket.
That's so cute. Oh my God. We are here at Sacred Sheep.
And
no, I was going to say, I want you to introduce yourself to everyone. So
yeah,
we're good.
I'm Nicole, and I have a podcast called Professor Purl because I'm a math education professor, and so that's my kind of joke. Professor that purls.
Perfect. Tell us about your maker journey. When did this all begin?
Well, I learned to knit as a young child, and I actually don't even remember learning. I just always, like, I couldn't even tell you what my first project is. I just don't ever remember not knitting. I think there were seasons where I knit a lot, like as a child. I loved to knit, and I would make things for my toys. And then in high school or in college, it was like less cool. But I think the older we get, sometimes we lean into those things that our authentic selves like love. The garment knitting really bloomed in graduate school for sure. I think it was a way to de-stress. And so I just love knitting and making my clothes. And I'm dabbling with sewing, but mostly knit garments.
Who taught you how to knit?
My mom actually like hired somebody in 4th grade that was like this 90-year-old woman named Dorothy to teach me to knit. Yeah.
Shout out to Dorothy.
Yeah, and I have some of the original little like cards. She'd write out like knitting patterns for knit bells, and I still have them in her little handwriting.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
amazing.
So yeah, and I knew how to knit at that time, but she was teaching me how to read patterns.
How long ago did you start your podcast?
I started my podcast in 2021. I was on sabbatical because I'm a professor, and after so long, you get a sabbatical, and it was amazing.
It's beautiful.
And it was this this time where I was lonely because my husband also knits, and we were.
I love that.
Yeah, and we were very active in a knitting community near us, and then the pandemic happened. Then I'm on sabbatical, and so it just kind of exaggerated this kind of aloneness. I mean, and wanting knitting community, and I would watch these YouTube videos all the time and feel like they were my friends that I was hanging out with, and I just wanted to do it, and I was so scared to start. And so I was on sabbatical, and I thought, I'll just put one out there, and who cares? Maybe I'll just make a friend. And I've made so many friends, and it's just been like so life-giving.
Yeah. I feel like that is such a wonderful part of the online community. You find these people that maybe you would have never met in real life.
For sure.
And the universe kind of scoots you together. And we've been talking a lot internally at Making about the community and what that means to us as we build this app. I think that everyone should take a second to like look inward and like, what does that actually mean to you? And for us, it's connection, right? Everybody wants to have that connection to somebody else, whether it's in person or not. And so, yeah, growing that is important. And I'm glad that you've had that through your podcast too.
Yeah, right. And there's like so many layers of communities too. Some people it's a very tangible thing that it's perhaps these online platforms and things like that. And it's just wild when that's like elevated because like today I'm here at Sacred Sheep Festival with a friend I made online on Instagram, and she lives in Minnesota, and we're hanging out, and these online friendships can bloom. And yeah, so she flew out here, and I picked her up, and we're hanging out, and it's like those your internet friends are real friends.
Yeah.
Like they may not be physically present, but like they're present in a different way. Right?
Yeah, for sure. You have your knitting. You're sitting down for like a marathon knitting session. What does that look like for you?
I love this question.
Thank
This
you.
is so good. This is like a delicious question. I am very particular and passionate because for me, I have a full-time job and like this is just for fun. And so for me, I live in the Pacific Northwest, actually just south of Portland here in wine country. So I have a beautiful view.
Okay, well, I'm going to come visit you in wine country.
Yeah, I would love to. I'll take you to a winery.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
And my porch just has there's a creek, and I just have and you can hear the birds, and so I love to sit on my porch and just get my knitting out and knit and just enjoy my alone time because I'm also a mother and just have that time. I have a section in my video podcast that's called Sip Sip Knit, and so my hack is I actually like do my whole filming, and then at the end I pause it and I go make some tea, and then my Sip Sip Knit segment actually comes in the middle of the podcast, but I just edit it in the middle because it's just like a process of just enjoying my time and my knitting and talking to my friends. And when I upload one and I get comments, I read every single one, and it feels like they're friends.
Yeah.
And today I was in a booth, somebody came up to me and he gave me the best compliment, which is they said they enjoy the birds. Like when I'm podcasting, they hear the birds in the background. And I was like, that's what I enjoy. That's why I sit out there. And it was just like so cool to me to be able to share that with somebody and that they noticed it.
Yes, I love that. It's like the little things, right?
Hey, y'all. I am Hannah Thiessen Howard. I am a knitting book writer. You might know me from my work with Slow Knitting and Seasonal Slow Knitting, which are my books, but I also am the current editor of By Hand Zero magazine and the editor-in-chief of Common Threads, which is a new experimental publication from the Hudson Valley Textile Project. It's like a newspaper. And I've had them all here the whole time this weekend and just having a great time getting to talk to people about everything and get to know them. I mean, that's my favorite part is like meeting readers, people that I haven't met in person.
Where did your making journey begin?
Oh gosh. So when I was 8 years old, my mother moved us to Kentucky, and not just Kentucky, but rural Kentucky.
Wow.
And we lived out in the country, and we went to this little country church. She was a pastor when I was a little kid. And we had all of these great people around us all the time doing things like baking bread and growing vegetables. And there was a woman in the church who was a sheep farmer. And she was also a spinner and a knitter and a dyer and all these things. So she just, I guess, took a shine to me and was like, oh, you can come over on Sunday afternoons and I'll teach you how to knit. And at first it was me and like 6 other kids, but over time it just became me. I was the only one who stuck with it. And she would give me these little balls of yarn and we'd dye them with Kool-Aid and we'd bake cookies and go out and visit the sheep. And she taught me how to spin. I did not retain that information. I picked up spinning a lot later in life. But something about that really early connection to it was so impactful for me. And as I kind of got older, I let go of the knitting a little bit for a while, but came back to it in college. I was living in Iowa and it was really cold and I didn't want to go to class. And I was like, what can I do while I watch Gomer Girls? And so I just started knitting again. And I got really addicted to it. And Ravelry had just started. So there was all this internet excitement and new books. And so I just kind of dove in head first and never looked back.
Why are you excited to be here at Sacred Sheep?
Oh man, I think the biggest thing for me at Sacred Sheep is that this has been my first real West Coast book signing event. I have never done a book signing on this side of the country, and I very rarely get out here. And so it's very exciting to meet readers that I've never met before and people who come up to the booth and they're like, I have all my books. I didn't know you were going to be here. And I'm like, you should have read the things. I want to sign them.
Yeah.
Like, bring your books to me. I want to sign them. And so getting to meet people out here, and they're so excited, and just a whole new arena of readers that I haven't encountered or talked to before. And Portland especially, really the Pacific Northwest, is such a woolly place to be.
Yeah.
That it's just really wonderful.
Yeah.
The vibes are good. The vibes are
The
epic.
vibes are epic here. It's true. I kind of feel like it's the magic of the Pacific Northwest.
What I love up here is just that everything's outside is green and gray,
Yeah,
and everything inside is glowy.
Yeah.
Like, y'all really love warm light up here, and I appreciate that. There are no
It's
fluorescents.
true. No.
No fluorescents.
No,
just
no.
warm light. Everywhere I go in Portland, it's like glowy and warm.
Last question. We at Making have been talking a lot about community and like what that word should actually mean, because a lot of people throw that word around, and community is connection. That's why we built this app. So what would you say to makers who maybe want to really help build that idea of community being connection and not just a word that we throw around?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I've seen is that we have a lot of cult of personality in this industry. There are certain people that everyone's really excited about their work and they want to see them and hang out with them. And I just really appreciate when people are able to do that, but also not exclude anyone who is not that person. When I go to an event, I almost always have this very particular interaction where someone comes up to me and they're like, oh, I saw this person over there, but I've never spoken to them and I want to speak to them. And I'm like, let's go introduce you. Let's go say hi. Like, if you've been around in this space for a while, if you've been around as a knitter, someone attending lots of shows, help the people who are newer at it. That's really the biggest thing for me with community. I mean, I wouldn't be where I was, where I am, if I didn't have knitters who were older, wiser, more available, more experienced coming to me and saying, oh, no, do this thing. Meet this person.
Yeah.
And we have to do that for all levels of people, not
100%.
just big superstar knitters, but also for knitters who have never met each other, who have something in common.
Lifting people up no matter what their follower count is, or no matter how long they've been doing this, what they're doing. If they literally have just cast on their first project and they're
Make
coming
them feel
into an event like
included.
this, yes, it's so important. So good.
Yeah, everyone just needs to feel included.
Exactly. Hello, Steph.
Hi, how are you?
So good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
How
for
has
having
today
me.
been?
Really great. It's
Oh
been
my
so
gosh,
fun.
So busy.
Yes, definitely.
The vibes here are great.
Yes.
Where did your maker journey begin?
Where did it begin? It began in my basement.
I love it. In the
and also
basement.
in Eugene. So when I first
Wonderful.
moved out to Oregon, I had been doing hanging out with knitters all over the country and doing knitting blogs because I moved around a lot. And so this is how I met people for a few years. And I'd been reading a few knitting blogs and I'd been reading about dyers. And I was hanging out in Eugene and I knew a couple dyers there. And they kept saying, oh, it's so easy. You can totally do this. And I was like, maybe. I've got some parents that do art and illustration and paint. I'm not really afraid of color or anything.
Yeah.
And, my dad sent me a dye kit, for a Christmas present a couple of, years before that. I was like, well, if I open this thing, it's going to be all over. So I have to wait until I have some free time. So I finished my AmeriCorps job and, lo and behold, there's this little economic depression going on and there's no way I'm getting a job anytime soon. So I was like, I'll open this dye kit and maybe I'll have a baby. So I did that in October of 2008. I was pregnant and had a yarn business inside of a month and a half.
Someone's an overachiever.
I gave birth to two things in 1 month. So I was selling yarn to my friends, obviously, for many months. They were really great and just bought more yarn and I just reinvested.
So it sounds like you grew up just in a very creative household.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yes.
So how did you learn how to knit?
So my mom taught me how to knit several times between 6 and 8.
Yeah,
several times. Yeah, eventually it took.
Wonderful.
And at some point she was like, you have to make a garment. So I think around 13, she made me make a sweater out of Vogue knitting. And and
do
then
you still
was
have that sweater by any chance?
God, no.
No, yeah. Some people are like, I'm proud of this. And some people are like, I don't want to see it
it
ever
looks
again.
okay. It's it's a Vogue knitting sweater with but no, I don't have that.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, here, make a sweater for your new, cousin or whatever. And I would just do it, right?
Yeah.
She would explain stuff. It had Intarsia the dinosaur sweater. Who cares, right? Mom will explain it. Mom taught me how to knit socks over the phone.
Oh my.
That was really hard.
Wow.
Really, really hard.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty funny. 'Cause how do you know which one needle? I was like, which one is needle one?
I know. I mean, it was hard enough for me to figure out how to turn a heel by watching videos.
Yeah, and this was before you could get like lots of great videos. And
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being in Colorado. I would just knit like a little bit every year for a long, long time. I knit a sweater. I'd spend my birthday money. I'd get like Vogue Knitting or Interweave Knits, and I knit like one sweater. And that's what I did for many years. And then I started finding more knitting blogs and going to more things and finding people through meetup.com. That was big, right?
You have your knitting. You're sitting down with your knitting.
Mm-hmm.
You have a good like half a day to just knit.
Half a day?
Have a half a day to knit
And not do anything else?
and not do anything else. What is your perfect setup?
My perfect setup? I mean, there's going to be like a hot mug of tea, I hope.
Hot mug of tea.
There's going to be like some kind of Netflix or Viki situation going on,
Perfection. Love.
right? Possibly an audiobook, depending on when I'm actually working.
Got it. Okay.
There's going to be some yarn in a basket, preferably in a cat-free contraption.
So your cat is interested in your yarn.
Oh, I have video of him going in and scooping like this to like find the perfect ball. He's like, no, not that one. I'll get this one. Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Oh my gosh, he has preferences.
Well, he knows that the round ones are better.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's smart. He's smart.
And the other one is doesn't really know about it, but she's starting to be interested. So
Well, she's gonna learn from him.
maybe she's kind of big and lazy.
You work in sustainability. You're a full-time sustainability analyst.
Mm-hmm.
How does that inform what you do with your yarn business?
First of all, there's like all of the operation stuff. Like I have solar panels on my roof. We buy supplemental like green electricity from the power company. I try to recycle everything. I try to reuse plastic. If you get an extra large bag from me, it's probably from like my grocery shopping or something like that, right? I do all of those things. And then when I source fiber, which is really the easiest way to get sustainable wool into a business like mine, I try to make sure it's sustainably sourced. So that means Polworth or Falkland Merino from the Falkland Islands, where they have really great practices for their sheep. Treat their sheep really well. They treat their land really well. I get carbon beneficial wool or climate beneficial wool. It's Rambouillet and like a silk blend, or just straight Rambouillet, and it comes from Nevada, and it's been certified through the Fiber Shed organization down there.
Love.
So they're doing great land management practices again, sequestering fiber back in the soil.
Being sustainable can feel like that's such a big thing, right? Like there's so much you can do, and just even little things are going to make a big difference in the end.
Well, and that's just the environmental part of sustainability. I mean, take social responsibility quite seriously.
Yes.
Right? We take diversity, equity, inclusion, racial equity, and social justice really seriously. Speaking out on issues, making sure that, I belong to safe spaces. I'm trying to support other BIPOC dyers and makers. That's really important to me.
That's like why we built this whole app, is that we saw that the same people were being highlighted over and over.
Hello, my name is Shelli. I am the everything at Shellican. The everything person.
The everything person. You do it all.
I do it all. Well, except for shipping now, but that's great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's
I use
great.
a fulfillment center now.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Big business. Me too.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Where did your maker journey begin?
When I was born.
Yeah.
No, I've always been a designer, and then at some point several years ago, I followed all these cool illustrators and designers who did like cool merch. And I was always a knitter by hobby, and I thought knitters need some cool stuff, and I want some cool stuff, and so I started making it.
I love it.
And I wasn't sure if it would become a thing or not, and within the year, it was like blowing up.
Perfect.
I mean, I hustled, but it was.
Well, yeah. That's especially as women in this world, we need to recognize that.
Yeah.
because I think we.
It just happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I think that a lot of people quickly will go to like, I got so lucky, and it's like, no, you actually worked your ass off.
Yeah.
And you need to recognize that.
I traveled. I was invited actually out here to Starlight. Starlight invited me
Love.
to a trunk show. And I organized like
Good job,
contacted some
Starlight.
others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Melissa. Still love her. Saw her today.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yes.
And then I started contacting other shops on the West Coast, and I did a whole little tour of the West Coast, and it was super fun.
Okay, so when did you learn how to knit?
When I was a kid, my grandma taught me. So just some
Aw,
garter stitch
Grandma.
blankets and stuff,
Good job, Grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like Cabbage Patch yarn.
Sorry, my phone switched to dark mode while we were just chatting.
It's about to
Okay.
get dark. We're going
Now
dark,
we're
dark
we're in
side.
dark mode now. This is great. Okay. Your go-to craft is knitting. Let's say you have a whole day to just knit.
Yeah.
There's no other responsibility that needs to happen.
Amazing.
What is your like perfect setup?
A movie I've seen a million times.
Awesome.
Snacks, my project, and my windows open. Yeah.
So what's the movie?
I called it like TBS movies. So like things that you should see on TV, like Sweetest Thing or Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
It's a good one.
A lot of like fun TV reruns.
Yeah.
Or a series. So if there's like a several movie series, like I don't know, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but somebody was like Fast and Furious because there was like 9 of them.
Oh yeah.
then
I've
you
never
could just
seen
knit
them, but that makes
forever.
sense. Yeah.
Just something that can go for a long time.
What are your snacks though?
Let's see, popcorn.
Perfect.
Like popcorn. I should be able to answer this because I'm starving. Maybe that's why I can't.
That's why you can't.
Yeah.
That's why you can't. If you were to if you were to be able to teach anybody to knit, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, that's an impossible question. Circle back to that.
Okay.
No idea.
Like a famous person?
A famous person?
Yeah. Who's somebody you'd want to hang out with a lot?
I don't know. Kind of bad at the pop quiz questions.
Okay.
I could like, if somebody was like this person, I'd be like, yes.
Somebody said Pedro Pascal.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Yes. Him.
I just keep saying it because eventually the algorithm will show him these videos.
Yeah,
And
I like
Pedro
that.
Pascal.
Pedro
come
Pascal,
hang out with
I will
us.
teach you how to knit.
We're in dark mode. Okay. This might be easier. If you could do a collab with anybody or a brand that you haven't collaborated with, who would it be?
I actually had on my list that I wanted to collaborate with. Oh, let me think of this.
This is we're manifesting. That's what we're doing right now.
Oh my gosh, Smart Wool.
Nice.
I actually use a lot of their merino base layers. They do a lot of biking, cycling,
Yeah,
outdoors in the
nice.
cold. And they produce 100% wool textiles. So any place really that does wool, like they do apparel or something, it would be fun to design a fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rad.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you what you do that has nothing to do with knitting, but I think you just answered it.
Yeah.
Cycling.
Yes, cycling. I ride my bike all the fucking
Hi, I'm Kemper Ray. I'm from North Carolina, and I'm a dyer, an indie dyer.
Where did your maker journey begin?
I've always made things, especially tiny things. I like tiny things.
Oh.
Which is probably because I'm so tall.
I like that though.
And
So what does that mean? How?
I don't know. I make
Okay.
miniatures.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes.
So I've always made tiny things, and I started knitting when I was in college because I broke my foot and I was bored. So I started knitting. I learned how to crochet at Girl Scout camp.
Thin mints and some crochet.
Yeah, gotta love it.
Perfect.
Probably made some terrible projects.
Yeah. You know.
They're fire retardant. That's
what we do.
Someone's
Adage. I have a question about the name of your company. How did that come about?
It's sort of a dumb story, as
I love it.
Most things are. My partner came into my crafting room one day and said, "It looks like a junkyard in here," and that's where it came from.
That's wonderful. What a great story. I think that you're gonna cherish that one forever.
Yeah, and also, I think when you grow up in South Carolina, people kind of assume something about you, that you're like down home, kind of local yokel, and
Got
so
it.
it's sort of a nod to that also. Because maybe I'm kind of a little bit of a local yokel.
So you're sitting down to knit and crochet.
Yes.
You have a couple of hours and you're just like, you're going to just go for it.
Got it.
You have no distractions. You can do whatever you want. What is your perfect scenario? Where are you sitting? Where are you listening, watching something, snacks, drink? What is it?
Probably listening to an audiobook. I have ADHD, so I like to not have too many things that I'm trying to do.
Yes, I understand.
So my brain wants me to have 14 things on.
Yep.
But I try to keep it to just one. Audiobooks usually, sometimes a show.
Nice.
But I've never taught myself how to read and knit at the same time. People who can
Just
do
having
that,
this conversation earlier.
I'm amazed by people who can do
Hannah.
I-
Hannah can do it.
I
don't get it.
I'm like, all right.
I can
well,
barely read a page.
Yeah. No. I would reread the same sentence over
Yeah.
and over again.
I mean, I can read, but it's like the ADHD of
Newsflash,
reading.
Jen cannot read. Everybody. Jen can't
What
read.
an interesting story that would be. That somebody who has been working in marketing for years cannot
Secretly.
read. Yeah, secretly can't read.
Can't read.
Wow, what a story.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm also a writer, so when I read, it tends to get my juices flowing, and so then
Yeah.
I can go and write. And so I usually sit in my like cozy armchair and have a beverage of some sort. Sometimes it's wine, sometimes it's not.
So, if you could teach one famous person how to dye, yarn, or knit, or crochet, or whatever, who would it be, and why?
I would never teach anyone how to dye yarn because the way I do it is so chaotic that no one needs to know.
Okay, but now I need to know.
Well, again, it's the ADHD thing, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing is you have to have things that, here's a lesson, folks. You have to have
Yeah.
things at your point of use, right? So if everything isn't in your area, you don't know that it exists, right?
Yep.
So I end up spending a lot of my time dyeing like, oh, wait, I need this. Oh, wait, I can't find it. So I would never teach anyone how to dye because it would just be like, where are you? Oh, okay, wait, hold on a second. I'll be right back. My assistant can attest to this.
Oh my goodness, I
But-
I feel this very much in my soul.
Teaching someone to knit, I feel like it would have to be someone who is fairly patient. That's a hard question. Man, you asked a hard question. Wow.
Hard hitting questions here.
I don't know why.
Who's
Who's a
somebody that
good
you would want to
person?
hang out with?
Oh,
That's famous.
that's another good
Start
question.
there.
Yeah, that's another good question. Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. So, well, doesn't she already know how to? Does she knit?
Well, all the better. I don't have to do anything.
Perfect.
We could just
Great.
sit around
Yeah, I love
and
that.
make friendship bracelets.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just been listening to a lot of Taylor Swift recently.
That's
I
fair.
don't know much about her, honestly, apart from the fact she has a cat.
And she now is at every NFL game.
She's dating a
ever.
football player,
Yeah.
apparently.
She is.
I was told that recently. So that's all
The
I
internet
know.
told me that.
Yeah.
If you could only dye with 3 colors for the rest of time, what would they be?
Pink, purple,
Yep.
and probably green.
Love it.
But like a really bright, like acid green.
Ooh.
Like